Lisa. I'm continuing with our trip to Charleston from a little over a year ago. I did this 2-page layout as my last video, and I included quite a bit in the journaling about the entire trip, not just this particular outing. And because I knew that I was only going to have one other spread for the trip, and this one has to do with the garden tour that the Historical Society in Charleston puts on in March and April each year. They do house and garden tours, and you book this pretty far in advance, or we did, because I don't know for sure that all the tickets sell out, but it's the kind of thing you sort of plan around. I unfortunately planned probably the coldest weekend in the entire 5 weeks of this thing, but that's just what we got. So I also ended up with a fair amount of walking. I gave Mother a choice. I said, do you want to do the house tours or you want to do the garden tours? And I explained the difference, and she picked garden tours, which I thought was a really good choice for her. And the way they organize these, they have all of the houses where you're going to tour the gardens in. They have a bunch of different tours, different days, and when you pick one, you're in the same block or maybe a couple of blocks where all the houses are together. But it still comes out to more walking than she is accustomed to doing on hard surfaces. She walks a lot at home in her house and outside in her yard. But we learned on this trip that don't take her to the city, ask her to walk anymore. She used to do that, but don't do it anymore, because she did get a little bit tired as we were going through this. But she did get to see a lot of things, and we enjoyed seeing the gardens. One thing we also discovered, though, on this is while we saw some beautiful gardens inside the walls of the walled gardens of people's homes, and you are looking at private homes, we found some of our favorite spots out on the street. And I just love this window box that I took a photo of. I think we were actually on the tour and just walked by it and took photos of some of these things. And I have a lot more photos, but I printed out a few to kind of give a flavor of this for the scrapbook. And I was most interested in having the pictures of us here. So I'm going to do this. I'm going to go ahead and do a double page for this. I might could get everything on one page, especially if I did some layering, but I don't think so. I think I'm going to go ahead and do a double page and kind of spread things out, maybe even put some die cuts and stuff on here. As I was looking at the photos, what I thought would be really cool is to have some brick pattern. Now I went to my stamps and I was pretty sure I didn't have any brick stamps. I'm thinking now that there might be one that looks like just sort of the outline of bricks, but to really have that brick look, I don't have any stamps like that. I knew I had some paper, and I went through my papers and I looked everywhere, couldn't find the piece I was looking for. I went through a bunch of other papers, just flipping through collections to see if there was anything brick. Couldn't find it, so I started looking for some sort of maybe a little more formal paper, something that kind of looked like Charleston. I liked this piece, and as I was flipping through my red drawer, I found this brick. Now, of course, you're probably thinking, brick, you should have probably gone to the red drawer first. I just didn't remember it being this red color. Maybe I just hoped it was a different color. But I did find what was left of this piece of paper with the brick pattern on there. I knew it was this collection, this Everyday Circus from, I think it's Fancy Pants, but I had broken the collection down a long time ago. What I want to do with this, though, I don't want a red brick. That doesn't go with any of my photos. It just doesn't work. I need it to look more old and preferably like whitewashed. So I'm going to attempt to whitewash this page and still have a brick design, but have it lighter and a color that will work with the paper. If it doesn't work, all I've done is ruin about 2/3 of a piece of old paper. So that's the first thing I'm going to do, and if that works, that will be the main paper that I use around the page, and if it doesn't, then we'll find some other papers. I'm also thinking that I want to make this my main photo. I thought I'd done this in a 5x7, but I didn't. When I printed them a long time ago. So I've got the 4x6, so I want to make it look bigger by doing some matting and maybe doing some flowers on the side. When I did that other 2-page spread I talked about, originally I was planning to do some small flowers, and I decided against that. I think on this one that might look nice, is to maybe do like a stem with flowers just coming out the sides of this, or the top, I don't know, and just doing something to really focus on this photo only, and then having the rest of these as supporting photos. So that's where I'm going with it, but the first thing I'm going to do is try to find some gloves. I'm out of my regular gloves. Find something to put over my hands and get some gesso and see if I can cover the brick and make them look, distress them and make them look older than they look here and not as red. I'm using some white craft paint rather than gesso because it will spread better than gesso, because I don't really need something super thick. And I'm kind of experimenting as I go to see how much watering down it needs, how much rubbing off it needs. And I have to work fairly quickly. This will dry pretty fast. But I'm liking how this is looking. It's toning it down. It's not really creating the aged brick look that I want, but at least it's not as red. Now another option could have been just to put some vellum over the top of this, but I think the white paint, since it's inconsistent, gives it more of the aged brick look. I'm going to add a little bit of water. The spots show up, the water droplets. And we'll let this dry. And then we get this kind of nice effect. Of course, it curls the paper, but that's okay. I'll glue everything down later on. And I'm going to cut it in half and try to make sure that it lines the brick up there. And what I want to do is to cut some off the edge. I don't want it to go all the way across the paper because it's a pretty wide border. So I want to leave some of the background showing on each side. So it's an accent, but it's not really taking over the page. Now I've done some die cutting with the silhouette. This is just a simple frame. I did get it a little bit, I didn't get the inside as small as I would like, and I could have altered that on the silhouette, but I did not think to do so. So I'm just taking a cutter and going ahead and I'm going to manually cut that out. And what I also did was cut out part of a frame from the edge of the gray paper so that I can have that color carried forward over on the right-hand page. It's a little plain. We'll dress it up here in a little bit. Now, solid black, I learned this from Christina Werner years ago, is that solid black is a little bit boring in cardstock, and to add something to it really is nice. So I'm just stamping it with what is the closest thing I have to a brick stamp. But it's really just to give it a little bit of texture with some black, the closest to black color that the distress inks come in. And it just adds a little something to that black. Now here I felt like when I laid out my pieces that I needed a little bit more behind the photo, so I got a stencil out, and I'm using, this is a stencil I cut myself on the silhouette. You can buy the stencil stuff to cut with at Hobby Lobby back where they keep stencils. They have the blanks and you can use that and cut. I just use an old blade when I'm cutting and cut, I think, pretty thick or make it so it's really thick stuff that you're cutting through, and it works quite well. And I'm just doing that, a little bit of ink on there, and when I got it done I realized I didn't use a big enough stencil. But at this point the only thing I can do is try to line up the one I have and go a little bit further to the edges. This is one of those times when I really needed one of my large stencils to have covered a larger space. But we're still going to get a little bit of something on the background here behind the photo. And then we can stick the flowers. These were again just some really simple silhouette die cuts. Charleston are some letters that can have inks applied to them. It's just a canvas coating to those, so they can be misted or they can be, you can use inks. I'm going to keep on with the distress inks here, and I'm just playing with a couple of different blues to see which one would look good. I don't want it to be too bright a blue. I just want something that will sort of match that window box that I've got in that one photo. So there's a denim color that works really well for that. And I'll sponge that on and let it dry good, and then I can add these letters to the layout. So I have everything applied here. I do need to add some journaling, but I also feel like I have a little blank space under that pink flower on the right-hand side. I just sort of had a gap there, and I thought it'd be a good place to put the date, and I would use some metal. Now I have two different kinds of metal here. I have one that's a coppery look and that beige. I think the coppery look looks the best. It surprised me. I thought the beige would look best. But unfortunately the copper one, I didn't have any brads. So I pulled the beige one back out, and you'll see in a moment that I did find something to go with that copper look because the beige ones just are showing up way too much on this. What I finally found were these dark rhinestones. I didn't really want rhinestones, but they're working here because I really preferred the darker frame for this, and then I used some of those along the bottom edge here as well. So there's my 2-pager with the whitewashed brick and several silhouette die cuts, just real simple die cuts. Did a little bit of stenciling to give us a little something up there at the top, and I've added just a little bit of journaling. I have a little bit more to put down here as well, and that will finish the 2-pager, and I think it complements nicely the first one that I did, which will be in my album first. We carried the pink color forward, carried the black forward as well, and I used the same font for my journaling and stuff. So just you know, some similarities between the pages so that they transition a bit from one to the other, and also this using the border that goes across the 2 pages. So thank you so much for joining me today. I hope you liked the page, and I appreciate all your comments. If I have not been responding or liking comments as fast, it's because for some reason YouTube has stopped emailing me. It used to email me every time I had a comment on my videos. I thought the last video I put out, I thought, well, nobody's commenting on this thing, and I finally went out there and there were some comments. It just wasn't sending them to me. So for the last couple of months I haven't received comments, so I have to go look for them. Fortunately, there's a place where I can see all the comments for all the videos in one place. So I have hundreds of videos, and I wouldn't want to have to go back through all of those, but I don't do that but maybe once a week or something. So if I haven't responded to a question, I will, and you can always email me. You'll find links and things on my blog at LisaEDesign.com. Thanks so much. Bye.